Welcome back, everyone. Today I have for you Catherine Mattice, who is the founder and CEO of Civility Partners, which is an organizational development firm that's focused on helping organizations create respectful workplace cultures and specializing in turning around toxic cultures. I'm really excited to get into that piece of it. Civility Partners clients range from Fortune 500 to small businesses across many industries. Catherine is a TEDx speaker and an HR thought leader who has appeared in such venues as USA Today, Bloomberg, CNN, NPR, all the things, and many other national news outlets as an expert. She's an award-winning speaker, author, and blogger, has 60 plus courses reaching global audiences on LinkedIn Learning. And her fourth book, which is Navigating Toxic Work Environments for Dummies, which you can see behind her right now for those of you watching on YouTube, is available in all major bookstores and wherever audiobooks are sold. Welcome, Catherine.
Well, thank you for that. Appreciate it. Happy to be here.
So glad to have you. Tell us more about exactly what is it that you do and who you serve.
I'll start with a quick background. I started Civility Partners 16 years ago after working in a toxic work environment, and I was HR, and I really just saw how toxic it was for everyone, how damaging it was, and really the cost to the organization. I got a front row seat to that and started getting my master's degree while I was working there. I did all of my research on toxic work environments. And so I got out of grad school with this mission to create civil environments. And so that's what we do. We do workforce surveys. We help the organization process that data and figure out what they do with it and help them create a plan to improve their culture. Certainly lots of training programs. And then we also specialize in coaching leaders accused of bullying or creating a hostile work environment. So our clients come to us when something's broken, the culture's broken, and they need to get back on track.
Now, you mentioned bullying, you mentioned hostile work environment,
Yeah.
but is that all that a toxic culture is, or is it more than that?
Now it's more than that. I just had a call this morning with someone who says, I've got a team of 19 people and it's dysfunctional and I don't really know why. So toxic is an emotionally charged word, but really anything where the way people are treating each other is hindering their ability to feel safe with each other or trust each other is toxic in my mind. So even gossip or sarcasm that's pushing the boundaries, any of that type of behavior is toxic. And it really matches with that idea of insidiousness, right? That if you think of a toxic from a scary movie or something, it creeps through. And that's what happens. You have a culture or a team environment of gossip, for example, then people start to push the boundaries on more and more negative behavior, and it evolves into something that truly is toxic.
And as you've been doing this work, what's been a challenge or a struggle that you've had to deal with, and how'd you overcome it?
I love that question because I get to toot my horn around my resilience. So I'm going to do that. When I started Civility Partners out of graduate school, I was talking about workplace bullying and I was going to save the world from this problem. And nobody else had really heard that word and nobody was talking about it. So back then it was like harassment or not. There was no employee experience and employee engagement and DEI and all these things we talk about now. So literally every single person I met or knew or talked to about it said, you can't do that. That doesn't make sense. You should be a leadership coach or a communication trainer. And I just kept saying, you know what? I've read all the research. I know you haven't. So I know it's a problem and I'm going to stick to my guns. And I overcame it. One, just the resilience in my gut. I know this is something that I can help solve. And then I met a woman who was a mentor. And she had a PhD in positive psychology, which was also sort of new back then. And she was like, I see you. I know what you're doing. And she actually came up with the name Civility Partners. And so it was like that one person who was willing to mentor me. And she just did amazing. She sent me the proposals that she used and was like, here, copy away. And so she just really helped me get through that initial phase of starting a business and being told no by everybody.
And that's so vital to have that one person, to be able to find that one person who is going to be your champion, your cheerleader, your coach.
Yeah.
In the same way that bullying boss, that one person in the workplace can create that toxic environment. Having that one right person can help just turn everything around for you.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, one person can either make or break, right? Yeah. And I've got examples on both sides.
As you've grown your business, what has been your process for bringing in new leads and turning those leads, those organizations into clients and then serving those clients?
It's been a journey. I was a solopreneur for the first 8 years. And then I brought in my very first marketing intern. I paid her $10 an hour and she worked, I think, 10 hours a week or something. And she did a pretty good job. And so then I started getting even busier. So then I hired another intern to help with work. And that intern, that second one, is still with me today. Her name's Rebecca. She's been with me for almost 9 years now. So then it was her and I for quite a while. And it's still, we have a whole team, but we have such a great relationship. And over time, as we grew, we realized we needed more systems in place. And so she evolved out of customer or client work into kind of consulting civility partners. And so her title is COO. We went and got Monday.com, which is a great tool. It's so easy to use. And we can't forget to mention the little party that happens when you mark something done. If for no other reason, get Monday, because when you mark done, little sprinkles come out and they change it sometimes for the holidays. And then just really figuring out how to automate that. So now we have project manager who takes clients through the sales process and through the consulting work on the other side. So she's a real throughput. She's been there from start to finish. She's automated Monday in quite a lot of ways. And thanks to her, we lose a lot less deals than we used to, because it was kind of me, but then I would forget, and she doesn't let things go. She will email until you respond and say, no, thank you. Otherwise, she'll keep on. So having systems in place that Rebecca built in conjunction or in partnership with the people running those systems has been really great. And then we have a marketing manager. So of course, on that side, there's lots of ways to automate emails and social media posts and things like that. The automation and the systems have really changed our business and how we function.
And you are benefiting and your organization is benefiting from the automation, but you personally did not have to sit there and build it out.
Right.
And I think a lot of coaches I talk to are like, oh my gosh, I don't understand it. You don't have to understand it. You need to know what you want the final result to be. And then you just hire somebody to build all that out for you.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. And we read Rocket Fuel, which is the part 2 to Attraction, if you haven't heard of it. And it's funny because one of my business coaches, who I love dearly, but she would say, your and Rebecca's relationship's weird. You guys are like the same person, you're best friends, and you work together. And then I read Rocket Fuel and I was like, we are visionary and an integrator, and we really, truly are. We check all those boxes. And so I do encourage, if you're not an integrator and you don't function with processes and that's not how you think, then don't try to do it. I tell Rebecca what I think needs to happen. Of course, she's got a lot of her own ideas about what needs to happen, and then she makes it happen.
What are 3 tips that you could share with us about a toxic work environment or building civility?
Well, I'll say this is probably a weird piece of advice. I've never heard anybody else say it, but it worked for me. So when I started Civility Partners, I left the company where I was and I started working at a new company that was building, and I was going to be their HR person. They had just gotten some investors and it was a tech company. And then the recession hit in 2008 and 9, and I got laid off. And I literally came home and bought a website. It was called noworkplacebullies.com. It's still out. It's so old school. It's still on the internet. And I literally wrote a website. That is a piece of advice I give a lot, that I know a lot of people would not say, start your business with a website, but what it did was brought it to life. So if anybody's not sure about going out on their own or what coaching or what their services would even look like, building it on a website made it very real. And that was the first thing I did. And then it was like, okay, now I have a website. What do I do next? And I recommend that to anybody thinking about what they want to do.
What that reminded me of is almost even though it's a real website, it's almost like a vision board. It's like the business hasn't actually started yet, but you're already envisioning this is how I want to operate. These are the services that I want to create. And now, like you said, now it's real because it's out there. I can show this to people. People can find this.
Yeah.
And now I need to turn myself into this business that I've created and figure out how am I going to do the things that I've envisioned. So I like that as a first step, even for people who are still maybe still trying to figure it out. I like that as a way to, okay, there has to be an about section. Well, what do I want to say about my business or what are my services? And this helping to think through exactly what this business is going to be.
Yeah. And visioning board, that's a great way to put it. I had to craft a message. What's my tone? And back then I really felt like I had to prove myself. And so there's tons of research on it. I really had to focus on bullying as a problem. And you have to know that first. And then, hey, I can fix it for you. And that has really carried through. So content is like currency. We put content out regularly. I have a weekly newsletter that my marketing manager does, and we don't sell in that newsletter at all. It may at some point in the blog say, for example, hey, one way to solve this problem we're telling you about is through coaching. And of course, we link to our website or something, but where it's not a hard sell. And I think people appreciate that. And I have been able to develop a real following. I have over 70,000 followers on LinkedIn, and we're working on the other venues now. People don't want to be sold to. They don't care about your free or your like 6-month workshop you're trying to sell them on. It's
Right.
very much about just we are the experts. We are the experts. We are the experts. And through the content, it's not hire us. And then we do a free webinar every quarter. So I do a lot of webinars with other partners, like Paycor, for example, is a great partner of ours. And so I get in front of their people and they get free content. So everybody wins. But ours, there is a little bit of selling, but it's really just trying to get people to register for a free webinar. And back to the automations, I'll give a tip on how we do that if anybody wants to do webinars like that. The way that starts is we have our normal content and then we start to say, P.S., we have a webinar coming up on this topic. And then maybe we do that 2 or 3 times and then it moves into the content. So now the e-newsletter and the blog is like a topic related to the webinar topic. And then if you want to learn more or you want to understand this, we've got a webinar. So we've moved it from PS to being part of the content. And then as it gets closer, it does become very, if you attend, you're going to learn X, Y, and Z. And one of our messages is go from here to there. So go from toxic employees to brilliant employees who all get along, go from dealing with the turnover and time suck that to getting to do more strategic things that you'd rather do. And so we definitely have a very clear sort of set of templates that we use to get people to register. And we've gotten to a point where we're getting 500 people registered, and every single time we have over 50% attendance. So that's
That's great.
so that process has really worked. So if anybody wants to learn that process, sign up for my e-newsletter and you'll start to get those emails. So that's been really great for us to get leads. So that's a second tip. I think my third tip is really just being authentic. I started off and just realized I needed to educate the heck out of people on this problem. I don't have to educate so much anymore. Everybody understands toxic work environments, but just being a disruptor, and that's just who I am, and being myself. And I get a lot of compliments when I talk and do webinars that I'm really good at taking a serious topic like toxicity that's very harmful and hurtful and making it lighter in a way that doesn't take away from the seriousness of it. And that's just me being authentic. And I think just always sticking to my guns has been really great for me and for Civility Partners.
The common thread through all of this is something you referred to earlier is that you're not out there doing this hard sell. You are educating people and raising that awareness of you and what you all do, because not everybody's in a toxic work environment. Not everybody needs it. I hope I don't have a toxic work environment because I work for myself and by myself. So
Yeah.
oh, a great boss. So
You're a great boss. You're a great employee.
great. my chief employee. But if I hear someone talking about their toxic work environment, because I have heard enough about you and what you do, you're going to be the first person I think of. Oh, I know who you need to talk to. And I think that that is, rather than doing the hard sell and every email is like, here, sign up, buy this, buy this, buy this. By just doing that education, it is increasing. I'm sure it's helping with your referrals because people now know you're the person to go to for this.
It's true. And I get a lot of times clients will either say, I saw Catherine speak 2 years ago and I get your e-newsletters, or I've been following her ever since. And now I'm ready to buy, or I've moved companies and they're willing to let me spend money on this. So yeah, those seeds. The other version of that is people will say, well, I got referred by Susan Smith. And I'm like, I don't know who Susan Smith is. And then our marketing manager will go and figure out that, hey, we are connected to her on LinkedIn, or she gets our e-newsletters, even though I've never met her. And so that content is just clearly I am the expert, and it's just really served. And I know a lot of people, especially newer business owners, selling is really hard. It feels gross. And I'm not selling anything. I'm just telling you what I know. Right. And so it really takes pressure off. And even in sales calls, they tell me their problem. I tell them what I know about how to solve it, and they can decide to hire us or not. It's not, you have to buy us. So it really takes the pressure off of that thing that a lot of people feel like they're not so good at.
So, here at the Automated Coach podcast, our listeners are action takers. What is one action that you would recommend that our listeners take?
So many. I don't have one. If you don't have a virtual assistant, you need to get one. And you don't need to use a company for virtual assistants. They suck the life out of their virtual assistants. They're not paying them very well because they have a business to run. They've got a market. Go on Upwork or Elance, whatever it is. That's where we get ours. And you treat your virtual assistant just like an employee. There's this feeling that they're in the Philippines and so they're over there and they can't do what I need. Not true. All of ours have bachelor's degrees. We have the two that I mentioned. Those are both ladies in the Philippines, Jenny and Em, and Civility Partners wouldn't function without them. They are super integrated into what we do, and we talk to them every day. And so you got to remove that perception of they're over there and they can do one widget and that's all they can do. They are people who think for themselves, and so I always feel like I need to stand up for that group. And it did take a while to get them, I think partly because of their culture of like, you tell me what you think I should do. I want you to be the expert in marketing or project management. And you like push back on me or tell me you don't have time for that, or you think it's a stupid idea. I'll just do it. Be a thought partner. So we love our ladies in the Philippines. So get a VA if you don't have one.
Great. And that's one of the things that I tell people. Obviously, I'm always singing the praises of automation, but it's really automation and delegation. The goal is you as the business owner need to get this stuff off of your plate. Yep. Some stuff can be automated. Some stuff does actually require a human touch. And so you need to delegate, but bottom line is get it off of your own plate.
Yes. Yes. I love delegating. Yeah. Once you start delegating, I'm in this place now where I'm like, I'm not doing that. And it feels great when I can build my business if I'm not in Monday trying to figure out how to automate something, because that's not what my brain is good at. And I don't enjoy it. So I did a leadership retreat for a client recently, and I was talking to them about delegating and really delegating leadership. Like, you're the executive team, but you don't have to lead everything. You set the vision, and then you've got to push your leadership down to the next level. And I remember I was kind of telling him, once you start delegating, your life is so free. I'm like, I get to be here with you guys because I delegate and my life is amazing. And I really want that for you. So yeah, delegating, it's just about thinking through, what do I not want to do? What am I not good at? And who could do that for me? And finding that right person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Catherine, I know that our listeners are going to want to stay in touch and sign up for the newsletter and find you online. Where can they find you?
I'm at LinkedIn. It's just Catherine Mattice. You can go to our website, civilitypartners.com. Send us an email, info@civilitypartners. But yeah, if you're interested in seeing how we do those newsletters, definitely sign up for a newsletter at any of those places. LinkedIn has our e-newsletter goes out there too. And if you're interested in learning about how we really use content to be experts, I think that's something we're really good at.
And for the folks who are listening to the audio version of this, could you spell your name?
Yes, Catherine, Catherine. Last name Mattice, Mattice.
Perfect. Well, Catherine, thank you so very much for being on the Automated Coach podcast. This was really a treat. You shared a lot of great information, and I know our listeners really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.